Okay, without further ado, we've been hearing about some of the other rock stars in the room. And I want to welcome up Jimmy from Block Solutions Indonesia to tell us a little story about these incredible Lego building blocks and what they've already been able to do across different parts of Indonesia, especially in Lombok, and this incredible technology they're bringing to market in a very much a circularity kind of mode. So, Jimmy, come on up and join us, and thank you for being here.
I just got back from Jakarta. I bring some oleh-oleh souvenir. You're not good by notes. That's okay.
Of course.
This is go up, go down. This one?
This one on the right.
Okay. Halo, selamat sore. Good afternoon. Nice to meet you all. First of all, thank you for Scale Climate Action for holding this event and having us participate. It's a pleasure for us to share about our journey and experience about this technology and how it helps tackle the some critical issues that not only Indonesia but the world is facing at the moment. And thank you also Tropical Nomad. Thank you. Good to be back. We used to be working here, until we moved office, so it's always good to come back. Okay. Right, so a quick overview. Apologize because my English is not my mother tongue language, so I bring my notes just to ensure that I'm on point and time efficient, if that is okay with you. Right, so Block Solutions Indonesia is a license holder company. So we hold the license from Finland, where we bring the technology into Indonesia. So as a license holder company, we are able to produce and distribute the blocks across the country. So that is number one. And the blocks that we produce enable our customers to build schools, houses, toilets, and other infrastructure building that are made of recycled plastic. So since incorporated in 2022, so we were only a baby. We are only a baby, so only 1 year old. We are actually proud to inform and to share with you that we are already at revenue generating stage. We work closely with non-profit organizations, both domestic and international, to build school, houses, but majority in Lombok and Sumba. So we are also proud and pleased to announce that, 3 months ago, at the end of June this year, we did a soft opening of our factory in Lombok so that it can help us accelerate producing the blocks in the country. So that is a brief overview about Block Solutions as a business. Now, the next 2 slides that I'm going to share with you are the issues or problems that, again, not only Indonesia, but the world is facing at the moment, and they are critical issues. So the one is plastic waste. And the second one is backlog of housing in Indonesia. Whilst we agree that those are very critical issues, they are very huge problems, but in Block Solutions Indonesia, we want to see it from different angle. We want to see it from an opportunity angle. So for us, this is an opportunity for us to contribute to solve the problems. It's not going to be entirely, but we are happy if we can contribute as little as we can as a group. And we also believe that our intention to help tackle this issue can be so much easier with the application of technology. Technology always develops, always improves. What technology cannot do now, we sincerely believe can be refined, can be perfected in the future that can help us to tackle the issue much better. So as Jennifer mentioned, so we are Lego block producer. So you guys must be, I had a very good memory playing with Lego when I was a child. So we like to have fun in doing what we are doing while creating the impacts for the society. So this is how we choose to do it, right? So we recycle the plastics, not all plastic waste that we are able to recycle, but from the plastic that we are able to recycle using the technology, we produce the blocks. This is the block, and this is the ole-ole, the souvenir that I bring with. What interesting about this block is not only about recycling the plastic. Maitri mentioned about how we contribute to reduce the carbon emission. I will explain more about how we can also contribute to reducing the carbon emission by building using the blocks. However, let me just highlight the benefits, the values that we offer by building using the blocks. So structure-wise, this block, it is 10 times lighter than the conventional brick and mortar. Even though it is 10 times lighter, it is actually 3 times stronger. And because it is light, when you build the school, the house, is so much faster. So the wall literally can be done within hours. So one classroom of 48 square meter, our local builder can build them, can complete them in 5 hours. So that is also another highlight of value that we are trying to present with this technology. And it's like Lego. It's fun. Maitri also mentioned about life cycle, about building, right? So our Finnish research and development team ensure us that with this block structure, it can last up to 100 years. Personally, I don't know if I can live for 100 years, but I'm more than happy if I see the same structure can stand up for 25, 30 years, or even 50 years. This is just the technical information on how we produce the blocks. So these are the pellets. So we take the plastic waste and put it into our machine in our factory. So we need them to be processed first, and they come in the form of pellets, and the pellets that we use as the raw materials to produce the blocks. What is also fun about this block is that it comes with different colors, right? So the factory that I mentioned that we did a soft opening in June, at the moment is able to produce per year around 350,000 blocks, which is equal to 600 units of a small house of 30 square meter. We hope that we can scale it up because the factory, our Lombok factory, is actually able to accommodate up to 3 injection molding machines, so that we can, produce 1,800 units of houses or classrooms. Now, this one small block reflects how much of plastic waste we can recycle. So this is 0.43 kilogram of plastic waste being recycled from the environment, while the biggest one is 3.38 kilogram of plastic waste recycled from the environment. I'm not going to go into details about the building process, but it is very simple. We don't need the pillars, the foundation, all the complicated structures that are common in conventional building, but it is very simple, very easy. I will leave this to you later to ask questions, but allow me to highlight. I have already highlighted how light the blocks is, but the other one that I want to highlight here is how it is earthquake resistant. We have already completed our seismic tests at the laboratorium of Housing Department of Indonesia. So we are happy again and proud to see that we have successfully passed the test, and we are now waiting for the official letter or certificate. And the most important thing that we want to share is not so much about producing the blocks. It's not so much about building the schools, building the houses. It's about how our initiative and the technology that enables us to realize the initiative can contribute and align to the sustainable development goals that are set by the United Nations. I believe we meet 12 out of 17 sustainable development goals by using this block technology. This is just give you some examples of what our customers have built today using our blocks. So in summary, 24 schools, 70 classrooms, 4 toilets and 4 homes have been built using the blocks. And this has some correlation to not only plastic waste being recycled from the environment, but also how much of carbon emission being reduced. So these are just the examples of classrooms that our customer built using the blocks. So this is just general description. So from 2 classrooms that we built using these blocks, not only we recycle 7.5 tons of plastic, but also if we compare it to brick and mortar, we can reduce up to 17.5 ton of carbon emission. And like I informed you earlier, it only took us 1 day to put the block wall up. And this is also important, ladies and gentlemen. I came from education background as well. Some parents, some people often ask me, what do you think about quality education, giving quality education to children? We don't discuss about that if the children are still learning in this condition. It is a nonsense, excuse me. Let's have that discussion when we have moved the children and the teachers into a proper learning environment. And this is the house, an example of a house that is built by, it's a standard one. It's not a luxurious house because we want to capture the need, the demand of a house in Indonesia. I think in my previous presentation, 12.71 million of houses are still required to be built until 2045. And we want to contribute in that. And this is the toilet. And this is another example of case where we can use the block for. This in particular is the one that we are currently working with the Lombok government, so business to government, to build guest houses for the local people in Lombok so that they can rent this house to people who are watching the MotoGP. So the people in Lombok can generate revenue from renting their guest house. This is just information on the current customers. With the opportunity also comes the challenges. And the key challenges that we are facing as a startup company in this industry is that we still see that the raw material that we need is very expensive. It makes up 50% of the production cost of our block, the raw material. It's a lot of plastic waste, but when it comes to processing it, it's very expensive. Very much a paradox. Also, there is no local recycling company. What I mean by local recycling company, most, if not all, recycling companies, proper recycling companies from the washing, the sorting, flaking until pelletizing, all are based in Java. So that means the plastic waste from Lombok, which is 30 tons a day from 2 regencies in Lombok, need to travel to East Java first, properly sorted, properly washed, pelletized, and then we can use them. So there is still that huge challenge. We are happy that recently 2 recycling companies, because they know now there is Block Solution who can use the pellets, they recently signed an MOU with the NTB government, the Lombok government, to build recycling companies, recycling plants in Lombok. So that is another, encouraging, sign. Oh, sorry. Last but not least, this is, I think, is also a huge challenge for us. At the beginning, nobody want to build, the school house from plastic, let alone plastic waste. Yeah, their perception is it's dirty, it's smelly, right? So we want to grow the awareness. It's not like that, but even then, we are still, that is still a huge challenge for us. And the other one, because we are in the construction industry, we have to meet the local government requirement for building material. And I mean talking about the SNI, the National Certification for Building Material. So we have a very good relationship with the government. We hope that that can help us to acquire what we need so that we can ensure our customer that not only the block is safe, but also certified. I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for that. That's such an incredible story. I think there's so much more that Jimmy just touched the surface, and I think the story around the classrooms, especially after the Lombok earthquake, is just incredible. Just what you're doing, just on the education front, let alone on the carbon front and around a circular system. So if you get a chance, jump onto the Block Solutions website and also the Classroom of Hope website. Jimmy was previously the CEO of Classroom of Hope Indonesia, correct? So he really led a lot of these efforts in Lombok and just should be really applauded for all the work he's done in rebuilding Lombok schools. And also to the team, Brad and Duncan are also here from Block Solutions, so hit them up at the end as well if you've got other questions. But they're an incredible team doing amazing work here in Indonesia, so thank you.
The teamwork makes the dream work. I just said that the teamwork makes the dream work. Right, so it's everybody.
Excellent. And so, Jimmy, you may want to even just pass those blocks around as long as they come back to the audience, just so you guys can see these and, you know, what they're like. Now to the next fun part. That was fun, but even more fun. I want to invite Maitri, Jonathan, and Adrian up to the stage, into the hot seats. These guys are no longer sharks. We're calling them dolphins because they are offering friendly, supportive advice to these organizations. And what we want to do is basically give both the advisors that are coming up to the stage as well as you guys a chance to take a look at these, you know, these business challenges that these guys have very kindly shared with us and say, okay, how do we collectively think about helping them solve some of these issues? Do you have folks or resources in mind that might be able to support some of this work and how we scale climate impact and scale climate action with this stage and with this event? So come on up, guys. And Jimmy, don't go too far because you're welcome to stand up here with us if you want to add anything, so this can be a real dialogue. So we're going to start with the advisors, each offering some advice, and then really put it out to the audience as well. We'll try to share the mics around in case you guys have got great ideas or perspectives to add. By way of introduction very quickly, just to my right here is Jonathan Wiley. Jonathan most recently came to us from the Bay Area, fellow Bay Area resident, and he was the Director of Product at InVision. He's got a pretty wide area of expertise, everything from having a deep understanding of human behaviour to solve problems. He's worked as an entrepreneur. He's built products for multiple startups. He ran a consulting practice. He's guided mountaineering, and he's consulted in innovation management. So super well qualified to be one of our friendly dolphins and advisors. So big warm welcome to Jonathan. And then maybe a familiar face for some of you guys, Adrian Keat. Again, a bit of a tech veteran. Worked in Silicon Valley before joining an AI startup, so great AI experience and scaling social impact technologies across Southeast Asia and Africa. He's sponsored and advised for waste management companies, great background, and sustainability nonprofit organizations, and currently is providing consulting around some of the Web3 space, so looking at how we might leverage intangible impact outcomes into business assets like blockchain. So again, some incredible background and looking forward to bringing really such a varied expertise to this discussion. So what I'm going to do is open it up to Maitri, Jonathan, and Adrian to really provide some advice. We've had a few prep sessions beforehand, so this is not just super raw. Jimmy and the advisors have had a chance to chat and really debrief so that we get the ball rolling. And we'd love some insights from you guys first, and then we will kind of share the mics with the audience as well. So take it away. Does anyone want to start?
I think it's going to be interactive. We'll probably ask you questions, Jimmy, or the team, Brad and Duncan. I guess my first question is around, you mentioned market acceptance. And I think there is, because I've known about Block Solutions for a while now, and because of the great work you've done with, humanitarian aid, disaster housing, providing school buildings, even residential buildings very quickly, there is this perception now that that's your niche. But I'm sensing that you want to break out of that and have wider market adoption. Is that correct? Would that be fair?
That's true. We have already worked with our existing customers. They are non-profit organizations, one in Indonesia, one in Australia. That works very good until now. But like you said, we also want to try to capture wider market, the private sector of it, the residentials, right? So recently, we have managed to not to secure, yeah, so to discuss in depth with individuals who want to build villas in Gili Trawangan, in Gili Air, in southern Lombok as well, even in Bali actually, right? But when it comes to the market acceptance here, it is more to the bigger market, the affordable housing. Not so much the higher end, but it's very not medium, medium, not too low, but medium. How do we capture that market? Because we know that is huge demand there, right? So in Lombok, for example, how do we capture 200,000 units of houses that need to be built when people still try to digest about our product, and like I said, skepticism about, hey, this is made of plastic waste. Is it smelly? Is it safe? So at early stage, it's still difficult for us, to capture that. But we hope that the more we build the blocks, schools, houses, toilets, the better the acceptance from the local market would be.
So, quick advice. It seems like you're missing a trick here. So, you mentioned Lego. A lot of people love Lego. And you heard of it, Minecraft? It's really strange, the Minecraft world, it's all blocks and pixelated worlds. It seems like you're missing, you could easily connect the dots with what you're doing to Lego branding and Minecraft, and I saw one of your show homes. It was multicolored, and I can't remember if it was on the presentation. It's so easy to have this multicolored blocks showcase as something fun, and we live in an Instagram world. People want to take a photo. Oh, look, I stayed in a tiny home that was made by Block Solutions, and it's themed around Lego or Roblox. You get that viral, and people are going to start talking about it. Like, how can I get one? How can I get a tiny home? So, Minecraft, Lego, tiny homes. See how you can bring that into your marketing strategy, and see if you can tap into an audience there.
Okay.
I think the opportunity in gamification, DIY. Remote cabins, there's so much going on in the online space with do it yourself, build it yourself, and I think you guys are able to afford that funness to the process. So bringing the fun in sounds like a really good idea.
I think just as an add to that, I also wonder in some of these situations. I feel like oftentimes we develop things and then we really want to talk about the thing we developed and what we think is cool about it, which in this case is recycling, right? Customers, as you mentioned yesterday, especially in that affordable housing space, they care about costs, right? They care about the thermal properties of the house. They care about other things. And so I feel like oftentimes it's possible to frame things differently for different markets. If you're selling to someone building a luxury villa here who really cares about eco-conscious and is price insensitive, you can lead with recycling and those sorts of things. But if you're selling into that other market, maybe that's the third, fourth, fifth bullet point that you're really highlighting, and you're starting with sort of like earthquake resistant, because that's where the fear is. Or you're starting with the thermal properties of the house and the total cost of ownership of the home versus the one-time cost. to build the home, the upfront cost. And so I think if you sort of flip the story and the way you tell that story, then you can just get all around that, right? So you go straight for like, well, here's the total cost of ownership. It's less than your other houses. It's a safer house. It's these things. Oh, no, oh, by the way, you're also helping the environment. It's a by the way for a lot of people. And so but I think then you'd have to know when you have this upscale market, right? And if you're going into hotels and other things and they really care about the carbon footprint of something, then you start with that story. And so I think really just understanding the segments in better detail of who you're going after, what they really care about, and twisting the story to appeal to them is really, really important. The other thing I'd say is like, and maybe this starts with a question, but if you were to take production today without a recycling facility on Lombok and you scaled up production, let's say two more machines, do costs come down significantly? Do they stay the same per unit?
Well, in terms of the production, I think it will be the same. But in terms of, because we are in the industry where the volume matters, so the more we build the houses, or like for example, the more the better, or the cost will brought down. So until we reach that point, and this is where we are at now. Like you said, how you really how do you really penetrate the market? Is it you go with the values, because the traditional market, like you said, only care about how much, right? So, but we believe when hit the volume, then it will drop the price.
Got it. So it could be really interesting because there's a segment of people, maybe sitting in this room, I might be one of them, who are price insensitive about this stuff to some degree that's larger. And so, one thought is like, can these blocks, could you find these projects in Lombok, some of these luxury projects, and really make sure to like lean into those projects as examples of what can be done so that you can then expand it into a price incentive segment in Bali, which allows you to lower the costs and increase your production and the demand, makes it more attractive for a company to come there helping you out as well. And then you can leverage that into eventually a story that was just kind of like a stepping stone to the process. That to me feels like just the way that you go up market, and maybe in combination with the more gamified approach as well, which is incredibly interesting.
Can I just ask some numbers? So the Indonesian housing market, the middle low sector, they're expecting to be building at 4.5 million, 3.5 million a square meter. What are your school buildings coming out at?
Yeah.
Or do you have an example, a calculation for what you can do residential at per square meter?
Yeah, thank you. So that is actually a great question, because that is the most common questions that is asked to us. Firstly, we do not put ourselves against the low income family house, because that is very low.
4.5
usually
million,
like 2.5.
4.5 million a square meter is not low for Indonesian houses.
In Lombok, there is, and they use 2 million until 3 million.
For the low income.
For the low income.
Right. So you're right above
so
that,
we
right?
don't. Yeah. So we don't compete against that. We don't put in the position in competing that market. Our price compared to conventional, like you said, 4 to 5, or 3.5 to 4.
Somewhere between 4 to 5.5.
Yeah, because
there.
in Bali different, right? There's people like say 4 or 5, but our price is 6 million rupiah per square meter.
And that's in Lombok.
That is in Lombok.
Okay. So if you're competing with that market, it seems to me. So the conventional approach to selling something sustainable is people will switch over to the better, more sustainable product if it's at the same price. Mm-hmm. Unless you're talking to a segment that money doesn't matter and it's not about how much it costs, it's about the impact.
Exactly.
So if that's your target, then your number one objective should be to bring the price down. Or you switch into lower high-end segment, which is under 8.5 million a square meter.
Yes.
And you make that sexy. So partnerships with architects are a really important one for new buildings, new materials in the building sector. I would recommend that you work with local architects to create showcase projects around the 6 to 8 million a square meter thing. Participate in building shows, in trade shows, create examples. Like, for example, if you go to Jakarta, architecture shows or furniture shows, you can create booths out of it. And I mean, I'm sure you already know this stuff.
Yeah, good point.
So, is the main way for you to reduce your cost base the cost of the raw materials?
Yeah, like I said, it's 50%. Take up 50% of the entire production cost of the block.
I also don't expect that to come down. Sorry to interrupt you, because the market for recycled plastic is going to go boom, right? So there's, I mean, you guys are first in maybe adding local demand to it, but there's so many projects coming that want access to that recycled PP and HDPE, and those are the highest materials in the plastics.
Yeah, that is true. It's like an oil price. It keeps fluctuating. Yeah, we cannot even guarantee. Well, not we. The supplier cannot guarantee us a contract longer than 3 months. That is the fact, the challenge.
I mean, you have companies like Coca-Cola that want most of the supply chain to put into their bottles at 5% so they can make certain claims. And they're pricing those bottles more expensive.
Yeah.
You're competing with people who are using it as, forgive me but saying, but it's mostly a gimmick.
Yeah. So there are two. We have tried. We have already tried. A number of other approaches that can bring the raw material cost down. But at this stage, we strongly believe that if we can find an alternative material that we can mix with the plastic that can bring down the cost, that is another solution. And one recent one that was given advice to us is using the rubber crumb. Yeah. So if you mix it with the plastic, right? So the price of the rubber crumb is much cheaper. 35%, is it? 35% cheaper. So the average price, we will be able to bring it down. That is number one. Number two, this is what we discussed previously, Adrian, is about about carbon credit, right? So it's still how many? 6 months to go? 3 months. 3 months to go when we see the update on the implementation of that policy. But if we can't benefit from that policy, then we can circulate that carbon credit that we can sell to make our block price cheaper. So that's what we are currently working on.
That's actually a really good idea, because for people who do want the benefit of the lower carbon construction, they can pay more to get the credit included in the product, and the people who need it to be cheaper can sell it on the market.
Exactly.
Yeah, and now is a good time to look at that, because in the last 12 months there was a lot of grey area. The Indonesian government actually suspended, carbon credit verification, basically put a moratorium, but they are reopening those conversations, policies becoming clearer. So I think now is a good time for you guys to look at that, and it's an area that I'm looking at, so happy to re-engage and have a look at that, because someone somewhere along that value chain will benefit, and you can incorporate that into your comparison, into your pricing, etc., into your marketing. So I think that is an important component. On that note, I can't remember, did you show a comparison of not just upfront costs, building costs, but the operational and lifetime cost of owning a Block Solutions residential home versus traditional brick and mortar?
The lifetime.
The ownership costs, like if you have better thermal properties, for example, then someone living in Block Solutions home spends less on air conditioning, etc.
So we haven't gone into that details as yet, right? So it needs further investigation. But from what we have done independently, for example, the block classroom, so we can measure that the temperature of the external wall, if it is compared to the inside wall is 1.5 degree cooler.
If you'd like to do a building energy simulation, hit me up.
Yes, please. So we definitely need support on that to make it more evidence, right? So, but that is a positive indication in terms of how we can save the energy.
Also, if you prove that you are better with earthquake resilience or reduce earthquake damage in the event, also more fire resistant, it may, and if you work with the insurance industry to agree that you are, then maybe premiums on your buildings could be lower than traditional buildings. Again, then you can show comparison. Block Solutions insurance premium would be lower than traditional housing insurance.
Just going to pause. Any insights or questions from the very experienced audience we have here as well? I love different perspectives or questions. Might need to.
Hi, so I love the presentation and the work you're doing, by the way. So I was thinking if I can contribute in some way about the raw materials. So my company actually collects donations across Singapore, and we get a lot of toys because people buy a lot of toys and plastic. And I think the requirement in Singapore is not that much because there's no disparity in income levels much there. It's well government funded. So is there a way if we can get them for free for you here? To kind of the cost involved, like have you done the math? If someone has to send it from Singapore to here, will it cost you less if we give it to you for free?
Well, thank you. I think at the end of my presentation, I said something about teamwork makes dream work. So we are genuinely believe that we cannot do it ourselves. We need everyone to help us. So that is a very kind gesture, and thank you very much. And we are open to that.
Okay, but I would love to know about the dumping laws and all that in Indonesia, because sending something there will require a lot of legal work and all that. So I think that's what I'm interested in, that if that math works out, the cost involved in all that process is actually justifies the whole, sending stuff from there.
Of course. So we in Block Solution Indonesia, we specialize in producing the blocks. When it comes to pelletizing, we work with one of, if not the biggest association of plastic recycling in Indonesia called ADUPI, Asosiasi Daur Ulang Plastik Indonesia. What we can do, because we need their advice, how to make it happen, how to make it work.
Sure, sounds good, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else in the audience so far? And just going to encourage, we've got a little QR code. So if you're kind of interested and want to engage with the crew, just come up and scan this and you'll end up in a little WhatsApp group. If you just want to connect with the guys, either ask more questions or continue the dialogue. So we've set these groups up so that we can keep this process rolling. You might have a brilliant idea after this evening. Jump into the WhatsApp group and just introduce yourself. And I'm sure the guys would love any ideas. So.
Just that one question, because you said because you said that the materials are light and there is no need for a foundation. So the question that immediately came up with me was, how strong is this? There was a nice picture, but if you want to commercialize it, people want to see, is it like a wall that you can knock against? Is it what does it feel like on the inside? Can you put because plastic doesn't feel nice. Do you have, wallpaper or, just more examples to convince people to look at it further? Because environment is nice, but very few people buy really something because it's environment friendly. But it's a very nice extra. But the basics need to be there, and then you can start convincing people, I think.
Thank you for the questions. In regards to the foundation, we still do the foundation. The same foundations, concrete slab foundation. But what makes it different, what it is required for the wall structure to be up. Unlike the conventional brick and mortar, they put, what do we call it, in technical terms? The foundation. So what is it? What is it? Frame. Huh? Frame. The frames, right? It's to support the wall. Block doesn't work that way. So once the concrete slab foundation is ready, what we do is that put what we call as a U profile on top of the foundation and start stacking up the block wall. And then to strengthen the structure, we use what we call as metal rods and wooden rods. So depending on the size of the building, can be a number of metal rods. And those rods that are actually support the wall, the block wall, because it is dyna bolted to the foundation. It is screwed to the floor, and it is also interlocking with the roof. Right. So technically, that's how we build using the blocks. Unless you guys want to add any.
Yeah, that's right. So it's had all its testing done. It's about 6.54 MPa in terms of strength, so it's about 3 times stronger than a cinder brick. And in terms of wallpaper, look, you can do plastering over it as well. You can make it look like a normal modern house. You can use cladding. Any type of cladding can interface with it as well. Yep, thanks for your questions.
Madre, I want a question for you. Firstly, deep respect for you and what your brother Nino have created as an organisation. I've known about you guys for a long time and been connected more to Nino in different projects. I realised that this was just a fraction of what you guys do, what you think. I just wanted to get your take on a kind of a bit more of an expanded view, because you specifically talked about carbon. For example, some people here have been to the house that I've built, and one of the things I own, it's a big concrete structure. So I own that with steel framework. And there's a lot of other aspects of that house, whether it be passive design aspects, solar, water capture, wastewater gardens, permaculture, and so on. So I wondered if you could just expand a little bit more on that and your experience of that in terms of, that word sustainability gets thrown around a lot, where that more holistic approach kind of fits into that future vision of 2050.
Yeah, then we get into operations. Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm gonna try and respect the fact that this is a workshop Q&A to try and solve some of the startup challenges over there. But just quickly, from a holistic point of view, I think it's important that when we design buildings and spaces for us to live in, that we find ways to actually understand how the building, how the ecosystems we change really interact with the environment. So, one indicator of impact is our carbon footprint or our energy footprint. But there's so many other ways to measure our impact and interaction with the environment or the influence that we have. can we develop and improve biodiversity? Can we reduce our groundwater footprint? Can we improve recharge and prevent runoff from our properties? There are so many things that we can do to reduce the ecological impact of developments. It shouldn't just be obviously focused in climate and carbon, but it is, I'd say, one of the 4 big topics. Typically, we focus in energy, water, waste, and climate. These are, in our opinion, the biggest topics. Biodiversity comes in equally important, just a bit more challenging sometimes to tackle. When we build with low carbon materials and we try and build in harmony with the environment, in theory, we can build buildings that are more efficient, consuming less resources when they're operating, so that we don't need air conditioning. We can rely on fan and passive design. We can use trees and water features to build microclimates and improve the surrounding temperatures around the building, so we don't need air conditioning. I think it goes into a lot of things. Here in particular with block solutions, I think the thermal properties of the material will help to improve general buildings as we typically build them in Indonesia. The carbon footprint should also be reduced. And in this way, we are reducing our impact on climate and the environment and reducing our carbon footprint from operations as well, yeah? Okay. I think it's a very, very big topic of discussion, Rob.
Just one last follow-up on that. Is there any interest at a governmental or an official level of what you're describing is the path forward for a sustainable future?
Through the Ministry of Housing, especially in your target market, there are already now standards set out for sustainable low-income, middle-income housing, standards in green building, standards in methods of construction, and I think there are many projects that are sponsored and kind of stamped by PUPR, our Department or Ministry of Public Works. That is also another channel for collaboration with you guys on the low middle income housing projects. So to answer your question, from government there is interest, there is standards. It's actually a lack of uptake and following these things from the side of contractors and planning that is the major challenge.
Right. And is there been any talk, or is there anything around creating that education container so builders can upskill in that?
So PUPR has programs to disseminate their building codes and promote them among contractors, and they are using them as standards now for credit. So when you want to get KPPR, which is like low middle income housing credit, and help from the government at low interests, this is where it's going to start coming in. It's not exactly there yet, but these standards are poised to become a requirement to get low interest housing rates. Bottom line, that's all you have to motivate people. I mean, the people themselves are not necessarily motivated or thinking about it in that direction yet. So what other mechanisms exist? There's policy and there's financial incentives.
I just wanted to say, in my mind, an awesome conversation. Way out of my depth. I'm straight up like SaaS entrepreneurs from Silicon Valley. So my mind just keeps coming back to like early stage startup lessons. And I would put you at an early stage still. You've got some really good traction, but you're definitely. I would be doing a lot of experimentation because when I and I'll just be really candid. When I hear you talk, I think there's a lot you can learn about the buyer and the customer and what matters to them and how to segment them. And so I think you got to get out of the building literally and go start talking to people and figure out exactly what each of them is going to resonate with. Because you need a lower price over the long haul, right? But when you start something new everywhere, right, we're always dealing with something that's like under-featured or too expensive, et cetera. And so you have to find those people who really just need it now. And you have found a few of them. So, schools is a good example, right? You need something fast. You got to put walls on those schools and you got to do it fast. Right, that was a great one. But now, if you want to hit that other market, you might not need to go after them, and you don't want to wait until the price comes down to be price competitive. You have to find another value proposition that matters to them, or you have to go somewhere where your value proposition you do have matters today. And it's going to take a lot of experimentation and conversation to make that happen. And so I would be putting a lot of stuff out there in terms of concepts, in terms of partnerships, in terms of just conversations with the various parts of the market. And so, and just realize that where you go now is not going to be where you end up in the end, right? Like Amazon didn't become a logistics company selling their like services to Shopify customers on day one. They did 30 years. So like you're going to own that market, let's just say that, but you may have to own a different market to begin with, because you got to find somebody who just needs it so badly they're going to pay you for it no matter what it is today. And you got to find the value proposition that matters to that person now. That's really mission critical. So if you can do that, then you can start to leverage it up, lower the cost, do those other things. But if you don't do that, you're going to be dead in the water at some point. So.
Excellent. And I think that was a great summary and a great kind of like sum up of I think some of the opportunities and challenges for Block Solutions. And firstly, I want to thank the team for being really kind to share about the business and where you guys are at, and just all the incredible milestones you've already created. So thank you and congratulations. Big round of applause to the team. Thank you, Jimmy. And also to our crew of advisors. So we're going to switch gears.